No, so I made some changes, but it's on the internet. So plus have these HTML slides, which are slightly more exciting than the PPT. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay, so you can. I mean, I just need to click on it when I present. You can go back wherever you were.
Sure. Thanks, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting the session here. Welcome to the annual conference of Amity Institute of Public Policy. My name is Kanya Arora, and I am the session will be chaired by Dr. Rana Pandey. She is a senior fellow at National Institute. Dr. Pandey is the lead coordinator. The session will be co-chaired by Dr. Smita Agarwal. She is an assistant professor at Department of Science at the University. She has teaching experience across many universities and she has many publications on areas such as social and moving on to the format of the presentation. The presentation will follow the set sequence. Each presenter will be given 5 to 7 minutes, and after which the Bible. After that, the chair and host will ask questions if they have.
Yes, sir.
You can take
no issues, sir. So let's start with the first presenter, who is Dr. Kumar Ankit, whose paper title is Markets, Trades and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a conceptual paper. Hopefully, get across the essence of the paper in 10 minutes. And the conceptual paper is basically about asking a very primitive perspective what these 3 words mean. Right? So, the start of this idea came from me as a educator and lecturer of this. And students said, asking, what does market mean? And I would say, look, market is very introduction, but what do you mean? Where does this happen? Is it the market that we go to? Market? Or is it the virtual market? What do you call it? And I started asking this question: does the notion of space? Can I move this away? Does the notion of space matter? Does the notion of space matter? So the original conceptualization of the if you move it to the side, so the original conceptualization of what a market means comes from Adam Smith. And so, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to explain what the original insight was in terms of Adam Smith. Before that, the 3 questions that I'm asking in this is: why does location matter in the age of internet? In the age of internet, location should not matter. But we are finding that location still matters. That's one question. The second question I'm asking, what I want to understand is broadly, is why is economic activities uneven? In the quick internet, normally I even. Why is it that everyone was to any movement? Or the second case system? And rural areas have no option. Again, started with the third question I want to ask is why is the transport network classified as infrastructure? So people say infrastructure is road, telephones. And my question is, what is the definition of infrastructure? We can't define infrastructure as a set of examples. What is the definition of infrastructure? Right? And the way I would phrase this question is, if I take a metro unmarked town and define its space and use the service, right? So I'm using it as a private good, right? Just the way I would go to a market and buy something. The question is, why is it an infrastructure? And why don't I buy a banana? Why isn't that infrastructure? And this is a question that we puzzle. And these three questions come together, at least the way I think about it, in understanding the notion of space in the market. So let's go back to Adam Smith's insight. Everything that we talk about market is Adam Smith's insight. And his insight was that if you have a well-functioning market, kind of a well-functioning market is a competitive market where anybody can do anything, nobody has any power, so decentralizing the action. It would be efficient. Now, again, efficient is a word that people don't think very hard about. What is efficiency? Right? And how we define efficiency. So the only efficiency definition that I know of is Pareto efficiency. And the notion of Pareto efficiency is simply that you can't make anybody better off without making anybody worse off. That's the notion of efficiency. Right? So if we all were to exchange things here in the room, once we reach a situation where the only way I can make you better off is by taking something you prefer, that's the efficiency. So trade-offs exist. Conversely, if you're not in an inefficient state, you can make somebody better off without making anybody worse. Right? So Adam Smith's original insight was that if decentralized interaction takes place, selfish people doing selfish things, exchanging things, you get efficiency. And that was a counter-intuition. And the reason was because if we were given time to exchange things in the room, we went through and said, you want a pen for your badge, then you want this for that. At some point, we reached where we no more exchanges to be made. And that would be efficient because you can't make anybody better off by making an exchange reverse, right? But the problem in this is, what is the space within this exchange where this exchange is happening? What is that space? I mean, where do we meet each other? Right? And in terms of where we meet each other, I'm going to keep it in my slides. And I'll go back to the slides. Where do we meet each other? So the notion of marketplace and what I want to define it as market space. So marketplace is if we all go to one market, decide to meet in a room, make the exchange, right? That's the marketplace. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is who owns this marketplace? So idea Adam Smith was that is decentralized interaction, nobody has any power. Right? Nobody needs to sort out the market reaches efficiency on its own. But the question is, who owns the market space where we meet? If the ownership is selfish, that selfish interest would drive the market. And it contradicts the assertions of Adam Smith, right? And this is what we find in supermarkets. So if you go to a supermarket, it is a space owned by a company, which takes money from Coca-Cola to place its products. And so if Coca-Cola plays in Pepsi, they'll send you Coca-Cola, right? So that's not market, right? And so the second, if you go between them, you look at it from the marketplace, you think of market space. I am traveling to the supermarket. The people who are selling the goods are traveling there. We should not just be talking about marketplace, but the market space. And who owns that market space? How did we get there? So the person who takes the metro from Gurgaon to our market, so that he or she can work in a shop, so that the shop can work and sell to me, they are part of the market space. And if that, if they're not able to travel, that increases the market, right? So now, the the key thing I want to do is in this statement is I want to think about 4 flows. Each market transaction happens to these 4 flows. The flows are, first, you need to know the information about the quality of the good that you're going to buy. So, by the way, here I'm just thinking about a very simple market. We can turn it into a more complicated market for stock markets. But it's still this idea can go through, but you need to add a kind of. If you just want to buy bananas and shirts and grocery, you want quality information to go. You want price information to go. So if I want to buy shirts in Delhi, if I want to physically find the information, I have to go to the shop and say quality price, quality price. I can use the internet and I can find out all the quality price. Right? But I still have to find a space to get information and prices. The third interaction is good has to go. Right? The shirt has to come to me. The person has to deliver to the shop. I have to go and buy. So I have to go through a space to buy that. And the fourth thing is money has to go. Now, all these flows need space to go through. Whether it's the physical world or the internet, the flows need to go through. So this is a framework in which you can think of online world and the physical world in the same way. So when you buy something on Amazon, you're physically sending the bill, but it's the online space which you're getting the price information and the money transaction. And the key thing, which makes it complicated, is the relationship with these flows. The relationship is they are complementary. Because they're complementary, one obstacle. Let's say you cannot find the price information, but every other flow is happening. That's the market collapses. Right? So the reason we need to think about the space is because we have to think about that flow. And the basic idea that I have is that the reason why metro is infrastructure is because it's infrastructure not on its own, but because it's supporting the market. If it's not public good, and by public good, I specifically mean that if the good that's provided is not rival among its two, if it's not a public good, the market will not function. So the idea simply is you want to create infrastructure that supports market, which leads to economic activity, which generates taxes and then pays for that infrastructure. So the reason the transport system is infrastructure is because it's creating market. And the application of this is very simple, which is by thinking about market space and infrastructure, we can decide where we want to create markets. Or do we want to create more and more urban markets, or do we want to create markets in the rural areas so that they can trade? So the big Bihar experiment in terms of roads was a little bit of a failure in the 2008, 2009, spent a lot of money. And the reason it was failure was it was not able to generate the economic activity which could maintain the roads and build more. So the key takeaway that I want to think about from this is in the age of internet, the location still matters because the 4 flows are complementary. And in urban areas, internet is very effective because we live close to each other. We find information that we can go. I could be sitting in a rural area in Bihar and I can know the best shirts in the country, across the country. But because I cannot travel there, or it's more expensive for them to send it to me, the market that I can participate in collapses. Thank you.
So now the next participant is Mr. Tithas Ganguly. Are you there with us, sir?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
So you're not audible to us.
Can you hear me now?
So you're not audible.
Okay, so is it now? Like,
You're not audible.
okay, I'll try to rejoin maybe.
Just wait. So can you go again now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but can you hear me?
So
Okay.
you're audible now. Just a second, sir. I'll be sharing your presentation.
Mm.
So now, Tata sir would be presenting his presentation on, so correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Nahar bid in India and EU, new ground of economic cooperation, welfare and resilience.
So, hi everyone, I'm Titash.
I'll be sharing your presentation.
Yeah, sure.
So is your presentation visible to you?
Yeah, it's visible to me, but I think I cannot control it, right? So I might.
No, sir. I'll be controlling it.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, thank you.
So are you aware that you have 5 to 7 minutes to write your presentation up?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay.
Please start, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm Titash Ganguly, and today I'm going to present my case study on Nachtarbeit. It's a German word which translates to night work or any form of labor that's conducted during nighttime. And Nachtarbeit in India and
So
the
just a second, sir.
yeah,
Not
sure.
clearly audible to us. Just a
Okay.
second. So not doing the chance. Please. Just a second. Sorry, sir. So we'll get back to you in a moment.
Okay.
So I would ask you to continue.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Okay. So yeah, I've already introduced my title. So next slide, please. Can you move to the next slide, Mary? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So first off, I'll be talking about like how time, the idea of time and timekeeping has been introduced by different economic activities, specifically through the introduction and expansion of railway network throughout South Asia, as well as other colonies of the British Empire, as well as other European imperial powers as well, and how night work has been introduced. Like we have specifically grown aware of the concept of night work through the expansion of urban networks. Like some professions that readily comes to our mind is that of baking or cleaning of nighttime wastage, and so on. So I'm particularly focusing on the gig economy because this is something which is becoming greatly relevant for the Indian economy as well as that of the EU, which I'll be coming back in a second. And this gig economy actually engages millions of people right now in India as well as the EU. And at present, just the BPO sector, that is the business process outsourcing sector, kind of generates almost $450 billion every year for the Indian economy. So it's kind of becoming relevant how we look at the labor conditions and the working conditions in this sector, and how this kind of can have more implications for relations between the India and the EU. So speaking about spatiotemporality, what I mean to say here is that there are a lot of aspects which I'll be talking about and specifically developing through my case studies of Kolkata, the city that I am from, and Berlin, the city that I've been living in for the last few years. So basically how the idea of space, and particularly public space at night, kind of shapes how people perform their uh, nighttime labor or night shifts, and what are the challenges that they kind of face when working during night, and how there are different policy issues as well as employment conditions that kind of impacts their working conditions. So please, the next slide. So I've already kind of talked about the relevance that how India and the EU has been long-term partners in sharing and developing a lot of gig infrastructures over the last few years, and specifically in terms of tech industry as well as different other gig industries like delivery services. So here I'll be conducting a case study of the two cities, and I'll be interviewing five uh, respondents who are involved in different sectors of this infrastructure. So I'll be moving on to the next slide because I think I'll be developing more on the relevance as we go forward. So can you just please move to the next slide? Sorry, I'm rushing a bit because I wasn't aware of the time. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So basically the five companies that we'll be looking at is Volt, Gorilla, and Hermes in Berlin, and in Kolkata it's Capgemini and Zomato. As you are all aware that Capgemini is an IT tech company, and Zomato is a food delivery company. And for the case of Berlin, Volt and Gorilla, these are mostly delivery companies. Volt is almost like Zomato, so it kind of delivers food. Gorilla delivers groceries, and Hermes is a company which also delivers groceries as well as other. It's almost like Amazon. So uh, uh, what I'll be looking at in the case of Hermes is how their warehouse performs and warehouse conditions at night. So yeah, that like extensive unstructured interviews of people working for these five companies is kind of the mainstay of my research. So next one, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So one of the first issues that kind of comes up when talking to interviews about conditions during nighttime is that of mobility. So when I was talking to people who work for Volt as well as Gorilla in Berlin, so one of the major issues that they face is that Volt specifically kind of doesn't provide the gear, that is the cycle or the bike as you put it. So that is necessary for making these deliveries. So as well as they are not responsible for the repair of this gear as well. So what often happens is that during night, specifically as you can understand in Berlin, during winter, it's kind of almost something comes up, there is snow, and so there are a lot of issues when it comes to mobility. So but mobility has its other factors as well, which are not very technical and not kind of very solvable as well, speaking from a macro view. So one of the issues that I came up while talking to an employee of Capgemini who is working in Kolkata. So she is a woman, and she often has to undergo different kind of stereotypes when they kind of return from their workspace, which is like Yeah, as you can understand, there has been a lot of chatter going on around her home about what her occupation is and how this can kind of talk a lot about the virtues of women working at night. So the kind of stereotypes that goes on with space and time and how people perform their labor during night time. So these are different issues of mobility, as well as there is the issue of professional mobility, like getting promotions, because as we know that a lot of Indians who are involved in this sector, specifically in Europe, they often face a challenge that they can only get up to a certain point. There is only so much that they can get promoted to. So this is one of also another issue which often comes up while talking to people engaged in these sectors. And next is the idea of safety. When it comes to Europe, there is always the issue of uh, like racial conflicts or some sort of um, anxieties or confrontations which kind of comes up because these people who are mostly Indian, so they kind of gets into a space where people are drunk, they are expecting a delivery, and they are kind of develop some sort of a confrontation, and which kind of becomes dangerous for this delivery personnel as well. And speaking to one of the respondents from World, I came to know that in these conditions, what
Sorry to disturb you, sir.
sorry,
Your
yeah.
5 minutes are up. The 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just be wrapping up. So I'll just jump to the recommendations that have come out from these people whom I've discussed these issues with. First of all, there needs to be kind of more regulations and as well as more supervision of what are the working conditions. There need to be more investment from the side of the companies as well as of the government to kind of make these spaces, make urban nightlife as safe as possible for people working during the night. And the next issue which has also come up is that because these people who are mostly immigrants, mostly students working in different cities of Europe, so there needs to be more involvement from the Indian embassy, like labor commissioner or labor attaches to the embassy, who can kind of also address the issues of different community welfare as well as labor welfare. So these are the issues. Please, I'll be very glad to answer any questions that you have. And thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, Titas. Hello.
Hi,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Titas, hello.
Hi,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I can hear you.
You're audible. Yes, sir.
I'm audible to you?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I myself is Stag from FMS University of Delhi.
Okay.
You give a nice presentation, but I will just answer one question. India is already facing the labor policy and labor code implementation in industry sector. Then how will India face these loopholes and going economy is growing day by day is Indian scenario? Because less number of people are covered under the health insurance and benefits and other benefits. Then how can you face these challenges? Any policy implications or roadmap to how to cover this?
Yeah, so actually, I have talked about, like, I think one of the slides also mentioned that there has been increasing contractualization and informalization of labor. So how most people, even in industrial sectors, they are kind of pushed away from the social security network. So I think this is one of the greater trends of the gig economy, that there tends to be less responsibility of these companies when it comes to different sort of security. So yeah, I can understand your skepticism that when India is kind of having its own challenges regarding the mainstream sectors as
Yeah,
well, how can we expect?
exactly.
Yeah. I kind of understand your skepticism, but the best we can do is kind of at least suggest some solutions and talk to these companies about how different, like even these small steps can be introduced. So I think, yeah, small steps can go a long way.
Okay,
Sorry to
Titas,
disturb you, but
thank you
we
so
do not
much.
have a lot of time available to us.
Yeah,
I would
sure.
like you to conclude your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you.
So are you done with your presentation, sir?
Yeah, I'm done.
Any questions?
So the chair has a question for you.
In terms of policies, what are the kind of policies you suggest particularly for India, where gig economy is really gaining a lot of traction. And there's a lot of policy support for having a gig economy, considering that the employment, the profile of employment in India is also changing. So the future lies in developing proper workspaces for gig economy workers, and that is also very aptly pointed out in a lot of publications by the NITI Aayog. So just my suggestion, I have not read the paper, but I would just urge you to go through those publications by NITI Aayog and also try to integrate your discussion around those issues that have been highlighted by NITI Aayog and other papers, because there is a lot of work, and because your work supplements those analysis, because we have done a survey. So it would really help that if you could integrate that literature, that discussion. I know there is a time constraint here, but in terms of the paper, you could integrate that discussion, particularly in the Indian context, whenever discussion is happening in the field of promoting safe working conditions for the gig workers, social security conditions, and so on. That's my suggestion. And is there also a question whether you have gone through those? Do you agree? Are you planning to integrate that into your paper and discussion?
Sorry, I could catch your suggestion, but did you also have kind of a question towards the end? Can you just repeat that once, maybe?
He wants to repeat the question.
Okay, ma'am is asking you whether you have gone through the reports of NITI Aayog that has talked and given suggestions about the gig economy and other such things. And because you have a very extensive fieldwork which is going on, so this can supplement or add on to those literature which is happening.
Yeah, definitely, because Niti Aayog and specifically the whole narrative around Make in India is also kind of focusing a lot on the development of gig economy and what are the working condition challenges or different social security challenges that goes on about when goes out around outsourcing industries and other sectors. So yeah, I have kind of reviewed these reports and articles, but yeah, like obviously due to the paucity of time, I cannot talk about it extensively, but yeah, thank you for the session. Like I'll obviously love to include more. Yeah, thank you.
Also, it would be great to integrate the recent discussion that is happening on the integration of the labor codes. The Ministry of Labor has integrated the entire gamut of labor law, labor codes. So that is also, that will have implication for the gig workers. So it will make your paper more comprehensive if you bring all those, because we're talking about policy as well as legislation. So it will be good to integrate all those into your discussion to make it more timely and make it more enriching. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to call upon the next participant, who is Mr. Ishtiaq Ahmed, who will be presenting his paper on the topic of Mohalla Clinic Health Policy Model to Strengthening Primary Healthcare in Delhi, a policy review paper.
Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah,
I'll be sharing your presentation. So is your presentation visible to you?
Yeah.
So you can start now. And so
Okay.
you have to wind up your presentation within the next 7 minutes. Please keep that in mind.
Can I start?
Yes, sir, sure.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all of you. Myself is Ishtiaq Ahmed from FMS University of Delhi. Now, and start just the introduction is all about the Mohalla Clinic model is running by the government of Delhi. As Delhi is a population of 1.6 million. The need of the high focus on primary healthcare in Delhi. Nearly 18 lakh people and 11% of populations live in slums areas, and you can say remote areas in Delhi. And there are the 12 basic agencies which providing the healthcare services in Delhi, as state government of Delhi, central governments, DGHS, and autonomous institutions like IIMS and ESIC and Ministry of Defense, Railways, and MCD also, and some non-government organizations or non-profit organizations providing primary healthcare services to Delhi citizens. Sir, please give a second, sir. Move. Yeah, no, just back, please. So basically, there are the principles or pillars of the Mohalla clinic in Delhi. The first is accessibility. The first principle is accessibility. The Mohalla clinic should be easily accessible to the populations near about the areas. The main focus is Mohalla clinic should be available within 5 kilometers of reach of the population. Second is equity of services. All of the categories, your general category, OBC, SC, ST, female, all guys are, there are the free of the discrimination, no discrimination, all equity of services. Third is financial protection. There is free of cost. It is easily affordable. There is zero cost model. No cost of services, no cost of consultation, no fees of diagnostic lab, all of that the free of services. Next is quality of healthcare services. Good quality of healthcare services, laboratory and tests provided at Mohalla clinic. And next is coverage of essential healthcare services. Approximately there are 150 plus medicines are available and 212 lab tests are working at present as our Mohalla clinic models. Now the new pink clinic also started by Delhi government, which are known as the Mahila Mohalla clinic, which basically covers the 0 to 12 year children and the basically female. Next is the primary healthcare in urban areas, the highly need of primary healthcare in urban areas, because the India ratio in 2011 expected to rise in 50% urban residents residing in urban, but they are not getting the free or accessible, affordable primary healthcare services. Next slide, please. Basically, is a narrative research paper or you storytelling. The paper is a paper downloaded from the Scopus, PubMed, and UGCK listed and ABDC listed journals. After that, analysis interpretation on the basis of storytelling form. Basically, in context of the Mohalla clinic or zero cost model. The supply side, there is a free, no charge of consultation, laboratory, say the other services of Delhi residents. Next slide, please. Now to come to the point, the discussion and findings. Here are the some discussion of findings. We are discussing only 5 to 6. If Patel and Pant provide primitive curative healthcare services and successful in their current form. Next is Agarwal et al. Women and elderly use Mohalla clinic. They are closer to home and good awareness. Next is Saw et al. Is easily affordable and accessible primary healthcare services and reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure on patient pocket. Next slide, please. And Laharia is concluded that reforms are urgently needed to strengthen primary healthcare system in Delhi and other in urban areas of India. Next is Sarmais Makkar. Mohalla clinic initiative improve status of residents by providing high quality healthcare services at zero cost or very minimal cost. So next slide, please. Now, finally, we come to the summary and conclusion. Mohalla clinic model proved to be an effective healthcare reforms toward achieving universal health coverage is goal of the SDG and Indian government. And next is expert recommended the model should be implemented in other states of the Indian state. And after publishing the Arvind Kejriwal set example to other state of India. Newly model is started by the Chhattisgarh government and also Basti Dawakhana is started by the Telangana government. Next, please.
Sir, your 5 minutes are up.
Yeah. Now come to the last is final implications. The Delhi residents strongly support the Mohalla clinic model to easily affordable, accessible, and reduces their output expenditure. Then government should implement or open this like this model Mohalla clinic to all these urban areas of Indian state and at the need of the state. But as per because they're reducing the out-of-pocket expenditure in terms of medicine, in terms of lab tests, and in terms of other services. Finally, any question, please?
Yes. So
Yes,
I think you haven't done any field work This was all your findings from the papers which you have downloaded.
Yeah. Basically, ma'am, this is a narrative. Yeah.
But this kind of a narrative cannot be developed in a paper. This can only be a literature review. If you see, if you see in terms of the pattern of a paper that needs to be presented, that does involve some kind of an input from your side, and innovation which can come. Maybe only studying one mohalla clinic in your area would have added a new dimension to it.
Yeah.
So somehow this paper lacked the concrete methodology, and it lacked the nuances which a research paper ought to be done. So I request you to kindly substantiate it with your field work so that you can get these kind of complexity.
Actually, ma'am, I got your point, but it's basically not empirical paper. Currently, I am doing whole Delhi study. I am covering all 11 districts of Delhi. That's currently, but it's a generally narrative policy review paper.
No, I don't think if you're talking about the policy review paper, then you need to look into the policy guidelines.
See, you need to also, develop your motivation more carefully, because you are talking about out-of-pocket costs. So please have a look at the NHFS surveys, which are talking about the out-of-pocket expenses. You need to give some empirical data. Right now, it is just a literature review, which is an important part of a paper, which is a section of a paper, but you need to supplement it with as ma'am pointed out, either do a survey of a particular mohalla clinic. You need to highlight some issues. You need to, okay, it's working well, but it needs to, can be done further, what kind of policy support can be provided further. And secondly, you need to show some data, some empirical, you are talking about out-of-pocket health expenditure. There are a lot of NSS surveys on this. You need to supplement with that. I would request you to have a look at some of the work that NITFP has done on health. So it will really help in developing this paper, because as of now it is at a very preliminary stage. It needs to be developed on a very strong footing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Now, I would like to call upon the next participants, who are Ms. Charvi Mishra and Ms. Muskan Madhok, to present their paper on the topic assessing the environmental profit and loss accounting tool with ecosystem valuation and double modality and exploratory study of caring group.
I think there's no online presentation.
No, one.
Can you finish it now?
Is Mrs. Sri Patra here? Can you hear us? He's not there. Sir is not there.
Everyone, a very good afternoon. I am Muskan and I have studied and the paper is around fashion industry that is slow, and looking from a viewpoint that whether a company in the fashion industry, whether it can be sustained longer. Starting comes with experience in fashion industry. So we thought that working on a paper which makes more right now. So here what we are trying to do is environmental profit and cost. Why are we getting it's an extra we are trying to assess that tool from two different point of view and from a different end. So we are looking at the tool and we are trying to see whether this particular tool that the company is using to calculate its environmental profit cost, how can we make this even more effective from a business viewpoint? We are taking the corporate aspect for the sustainability aspect. And those two just explain these ones. So environmental property laws is similar to whenever we calculate created, we see our expenses as well as the income. Here, what we do is when we calculate environmental property laws, we see that my industry is producing and it's greenhouse gas in the environment. On the other hand, so that is my expense that comes under the law. If I am looking into the profit angle, so now I am planning more. That is adding to the profit part. So overall, the company is trying to see how it is impacting the environment problem. So what we are trying to do is trying to see whether the ecosystem valuation can make the assessment even better of this particular thing. Under ecosystem valuation, we see the economic value of all the things that biodiversity has. For example, you want to assess a life cycle of a tree. It's about 70,000 to multiply it by the years, age of the and double materiality. So, single materiality of PhD that we follow to assess for our stakeholders. You want a ESG, double materiality. Here we see whether your ESG goals, your social or your environmental goals, are they also aligned with your investors and the profitability of the investment?
So now we talk about why are we doing this exactly. So as you all know, the fashion industry very creates a lot of pollution. It accounts for almost 8% of global carbon emissions. So regarding why we get into, because it's the largest it has brands like Balenciaga, and they are the only ones who have this demand, which they're starting. So we have 10 years of data to compare. So that's how you know. And basically sort of like it makes sense. And basically, as Muskan mentioned, through the study, we'll understand, we'll see how this EPNL can probably be enhanced to the concept and which are more ballistic than EPNL. So we'll be trying to integrate that. So we'll see if that works out or not.
So we have one research objective that is to analyze the EPNL effectiveness and using the concept of evaluation and materiality as stated in the beginning. This is one EPNL statement or the summary of the statement by getting to. Here, what they are trying to do is they are trying to showcase. Here on this axis, they have their material topics such as air emissions, GHGs, basically what are the consequences of their EPNL, environmental profit and loss. And here they have segregated into their different levels of production. What is the emission or what is the land use or water use that are taking place in the end of life, on consumer end or raw material stages. Here that this is what they're trying to classify, and we are looking at from a point of materiality and ecosystem valuation. Our research methodology, so this is single materiality done by the Caring Group itself. Here they are taking into account what all topics are material to their stakeholders. But a simple observation is made by us where we notice that all these tools can also be mapped in the double materiality angle as well. So this is the research methodology that we follow. We also looked into a tool which is known as interest in the ecosystem valuation bit. And in the double materiality, we map these environmental KPIs with their financial materiality as well. These are the sustainable development goals which are also aligned with the EKPIs that the company is following. Mainly it includes water, land and climate.
So talking more about the ecosystem valuation part. So here we see the investment. So it's basically a tool. If you sort of EPNL is on its head, that is what the invest tool does. It explores the changes in the ecosystem, which are likely to lead changes in the flow of materials for people, basically for any benefits of the people. So what we're doing in EPNL is that the business see what is that. Well, here we are seeing what if there is any change in the system. So that is how this works. It basically does ecosystem valuation. And regarding why we choose this topic, it's because it has experience and self-open source. There is a lot of research done by public policy organizations on this already. So it was a good start for a business organization to integrate. That's why we chose this particular tool. Regarding in this tool, so there are 3 factors on how it works. So the first is supply. It basically talks about what an ecosystem can provide to us. That is supply, as simple as that. Then we look at service. So this is basically for a business organization, what are the services they need from the ecosystem. So that also includes what is the location of their service and what are the activities of these beneficiary here means the business. And then through this invest tool, if we input these 2 data, then we get the ecosystem valuation. And also they look at social preferences, which is a big deal in the fashion industry. As you all know, there are rampant issues of child labor and women issues in the fashion industry.
So here in our result section, just about what we did was we identified from single materiality by caring that these are some of the material topics to them and why is it material to their stakeholders. For example, we see that air emissions is material to the stakeholders because they're getting polluted air. So what we try to do was to try to make a business case for caring group so that other companies can also follow the same, to make a business case for the investors as well, that if the air emissions are increasing, your pollution is increasing for the stakeholders are getting affected. On the other hand, you're also getting faced by a lot of agencies and on lost opportunities, I would say. For example, in terms of increased regulations, you're getting a lot of penalties as well if you're not complying by the laws. There are GHG emission standards, especially when we talk about water, your availability. So there is this concept, it's going to be in a paper as well, of environmental business curve. It talks about if you're taking resources from the environment, your profits are going to increase in a shorter time period. But in the longer run, reduce the availability of your raw materials. Here is how we make a business case for the caring group investors that if we are not mindful about our water consumption, we may not even have water for our business. So similarly, since we have less time, I want to go about yes.
So that was about double materiality, about ecosystem valuation. So we basically mapped the data sets which would be required for the invest tool for them to utilize and what they already have in their EPNL tool to start off as a base. So we realized that their 6 main EPE KPIs, which were also mentioned in the double materiality, is already fulfilled in that service requirement, which we talked about, service and supply, right? So the service part was already covered through all this information of 10 years that they have covered. And also, they also have these all data provided, which is like in which countries they work in, where are their business units located, what are the kind of business units, because this is a huge group, so they have many units like leather, a lot of type of business units. Then the same goes for raw material groups, process steps, and product life phase. So they also have that, okay, this is the use phase process which is happening in this country. So in most of these cases, the use phase is in a Western country while it is being made in our country usually. So that is how the location and activity data requirements are also fulfilled, which was part of the service. These both basically fulfill the service criteria. Regarding the supply criteria, it can be easily found through, the supply criteria is usually climate data, soil data, human population data, which I'm sure everyone knows here. We can usually find it in government, through government portals. So these kind of data are already available through these platforms and also other scientific platforms. So we saw that this kind of information is available and invest can easily be applied. So this made the implementation of invest and ecosystem valuation, which is a step like almost a 10 jump ahead of normal environmental valuation, which they are currently doing. So now let's talk about our main theme, balanced growth. Is it a possibility?
So while we were checking the EPNL tool, we saw that they have been able to reduce their environmental impact through this tool in the past 12 years by 40%, which is a big number for a group like Kering, who have a revenue of, I think, 20 billion last year. So it's a huge, it's already a huge jump through only their environmental valuation. But as we know, EU, so they're basically based in the EU, and the regulations there are increasing a lot. So their targets also have to be changed accordingly. So we think that if they utilize this tool, this is the tool methodology. It's very simple to how a business strategy is evolved. Like you define your partnerships, your objectives, your questions. You look at the scope, you define your scope, and then you compile data, make a scenario out of it, and then you assess the outcome, and then that is how you make decisions or policies or business strategies, as you might call them. So it is definitely a good possibility for a group like Kering to make that jump. So what are the implications of the study? The main implication is that once these two concepts can be applied to the EPNL and these research can be furthered, we believe that they can be used in their ESG advisory team in particular for their proper business strategies. Right now, how they're doing it is through a profit loss and, as she mentioned, profit and loss statement. So they try to minimize impacts through resource efficiency projects, programs, but there is no particular strategy involved in it. So through scenario analysis, so InvestTool can also do scenario analysis. So through the scenario analysis and through this double materiality, they can exactly see how both climate and transition risks can be used for future business strategies. And that is, so our recommendation thereby comes that they should be incorporating both these concepts into their EPNL. And of course, this was a secondary research, and we believe that if we can, and it was limited to the Kering group, if it can be applied later on, we believe that there is a lot of scope for this work, and it can be applied. So yeah, thank you.
Like the company mindset, like moving from right now. The model suggests that profit can be aspirated from yes, but you think the kind of mindset we have, like profit cannot be my mindset. What is in the future that a company can actually incorporate and because of your experiences? So yeah, exactly. So we always have this discussion, and one of the professor says that economics is, if you talk about economics subject, it's happening, but in it's evolved sustainability. Or sustainability is just evolved economics. We used to say that okay, planet and profit, they not go hand in hand. Then came the concept of triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit, where it showed that we are a part of the entire ecosystem. Especially, I use the level class in business case for it, I chose the environment, then your resources are going to deplete. How are you then to take profit out of it? If you're not going to have your raw materials available, it's not going to translate into profits, rather, it might even lead to closure of the business. Even with the regulations which are coming up, it's becoming so difficult. So let's say you're making 50% maximum scenario, maybe 50% profit out of your revenue last year. But out of which you have to pay 45% as penalties on how would you be able to succeed?
So similarly, in my experience, and we consult, so I can guarantee the business sustainability. And they come to us to know how we work around this, and we make this. It's not only about if they don't do it, people don't want to be a part of it. That is also one thing that is coming up. It's reputation. This is basically.
add some context to it before you address these kind of more questions which are very relevant. So you can add context in the form of fact that now, like you talked about you had a very stringent framework for ESG, and they're coming up with very strong strict disclosure norm. Even India came up with the sovereignty bond, and it was rated also, but not rated very strong to rated because some of the regulations were not met. So just try to bring this in the overall context of the changes that are happening. Also, you talked about this assessment there. Because when they are giving you, they are putting speed and constant getting written as how much attention is happening and what they are do about it. They have a big framework for all these things. So APTs, they develop this framework. Maybe you already take that into account. Just to have a very strong context and where you came this study, which is really good, so that it doesn't seem like it's a standalone thing. It is something which is integrated in the policy that is developing now to state development. Even safety has come up with this, we have to adopt, and they are now interested on case effect for them. So, and they will get more interested. So that makes it all more relevant. Or I would like to have a very good presentation that is well. I just wanted to make it more stronger motivations part of the thank you.
So the idea of greenwashing. If you're a firm, somebody's sitting a job, ask somebody to collect data, and the person then collects data. And by the time the data gets collected, it's a huge difference. And the data is manipulated, and we found again and again. The question is, so how can you trust and verify this data? Because a company will try to manipulate the data to make itself better. So is there some kind of verification mechanism that the data collected is accurate?
Yeah. So we work with firms who also do audits. So there is this aspect is sustainability report that companies publish that you have to get it externally assured. So that is where the role of cross-checking the data comes in. As consultants, we do assurance of such reports to make sure. Although this is one step, I would name the company recently work as a part of our MBA organization, which produces water bottles. So we spoke to them, we asked them about the concept of greenwashing. They gave this very nice example that if you are dating someone, you can pretend to be someone else for let's say for 2 months or 3 months, but later on you will be your true self. This is what is going to happen with the company, even if they greenwash for let's say first 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. Greenwashing, especially the era that we are in, the era of social media, it's going to get wrong. So it's even going to be harmful for the company even if it.
So understand this, but I'm just last mile data collection is extremely expensive. Right. And so if you really put the environmental impact, the amount of information for the difference you collect, the information is extremely expensive. The question is, would the auditing firm have the ability to collect that information? And would they actually collect that information, or are they sort of silent? Well, I'll just leave this here because I also collected information. It's quite expensive.
There are some technology, MIS and such management information systems. MIS is you start. Very interesting.
Is Sudeep Shah here?
Hello, sir.
The net went off. The net went off. The net went off.
This is the last.
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am, we'll just check if sir is there or not. Otherwise, we'll wind it up.
Okay.
Do we have Mr. Sudeep Basu with us over here? He's not there. So sorry for the delay. We are just waiting for the markers to come and then we give our certificate and we the guiding of the session. So,
It's a good reason for everyone to have a show. Because otherwise we get the so there's a growth expected in it. But if something becomes rich and then also something is worse, as a broad society understand. But I mean, in these cases, then we should be more. So, you know, we all understand.
Hello.
So you have to think that selfish. They became selfless.
Sir, your voice is going breaking down. Hello. Hello, sir. Your voice is breaking down, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
There is, sir. There is my presentation.
So your can I know your name, sir?
Dinesh Kumar Sahu, sir.
Just a second, sir. I'll just check. So did you receive any information regarding at what time is your presentation?
Actually, sir. Sir, I received one more information by email. There is something 10 a.m. sir. 10 a.m.
So your presentation starts from sorry. So your presentation starts from 2:30, sir.
2:30, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
abbreviation. So with this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you to the chairs for being here.